Graham Jason Matthews here with Bleach Report and Fansided. Today we're talking to WWE Raw superstar Lyra Valkyria, one of the newest acquisitions on the Raw brand, taking part in the upcoming WWE Speed tournament for the Women's Championship. Lyra, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. How are
Well,
you?
doing great. I mean, obviously, you're going to be going into this first matchup in the tournament, taking on a very familiar foe in IYO SKY, someone that you've had history with before on the main roster, and you guys have already shown instant chemistry. So, I mean, this is a pretty tough matchup for the first round. What can people expect from this encounter with you and IYO?
Yeah, this is a pretty insane first round matchup. Obviously we've gone up against each other a couple of times on Monday Night Raw. First round to go up against, an opponent like Io, who is probably the most skilled woman I've been in the ring with. I'm pretty excited. Also having a victory over her, I do think I can get the job done. Again, it's going to be September 4th at 12 p.m. Eastern on X.
This is the match that I think a lot of people have been looking forward to. Stakes are high with you mentioning, the first match in the Speed Championship airing next Wednesday, September 4th. You guys are 1-1 on Raw so far. First matchup in the Queen of the Ring tournament a couple months ago. Obviously high stakes there as well. A rematch a couple of months later, a couple of weeks later with EO emerging victorious in that one. Do you guys feel like or at least you, Lyra, talking about the instant chemistry that you guys have had and just two great matches to kind of kick off your Raw run? Do you feel like that was kind of the perfect introduction for people that may not have been aware of your time in NXT and having these great matches with EO?
Yeah, it feels different being in the ring with EO. So I'm really excited to see who will come out on top of this third match. Last time I caught her with a quick pin, and I feel like my technical style in a matchup like this, where you don't necessarily have the time to wear your opponent down to hit your signature moves, but 3 minutes you got to get the job done. I feel like my style is perfectly suited for this kind of match, and that's why I intend to become the first Speed Women's Champion.
I was going to say, the last couple of matches you guys have had, and pretty much a lot of the matches you've had so far in the Raw brand have gotten like an ample amount of time, which, it's very hit or miss with the men and the women. Some matches go short, some matches go long. Do you feel like, kind of going off what you just said, your style specifically, how do you feel like it is perfectly fit for the Speed Championship, where the matches only go 3 minutes, and so far they've been a big hit on the Twitter X platform the last couple of months?
Yeah, I guess it's a whole new way of looking at a matchup. 'Cause it's one thing to be able to beat your opponent, but to be able to do it within 3 minutes is a pretty entirely different challenge. So you have to like approach it completely differently. Maybe some like it's going to be fast, it's going to be dynamic. There's no really telling. You might just have to have a different strategy to try and get your opponent's shoulders on the mat for the 1, 2, 3 within the three minutes. You don't necessarily have the time to feel each other out or anything like that. It's just going to be bang, bang, bang. It's going to be excitement. Go, go, go.
It's cool to see too, because it's kind of crazy to see how far the women's division has come specifically in the last, 10 years. You mentioned in the lead up to Money in the Bank, that was when you started training, was around Money in the Bank 2014, obviously participating this year's women's installment for the briefcase, and how even 10 years ago, like 2 3 minute matches were routine for the women, but for the exact opposite reasons. Like that wasn't something that was favored as a good thing. But 10 years later, it's actually an advantage for you guys to not only, partake in this tournament, but compete for a championship that was not there even 6 months ago. So it's crazy to see, especially from your standpoint, as someone who was a fan, now a WWE superstar, to see how far the women's evolution has come in the last decade.
Yeah, it is crazy. Like when I started on the day of Money in the Bank 2014, there was no women's Money in the Bank match. So it never even crossed my mind the potential that I could be in one. And now here we are 10 years later. Um, of course, we have women's Money in the Bank matches. Of course, we have all the same things, all the same opportunities. But now, like, I get to be part of the first ever. So to be in the very first women's speed match is not something I take lightly. I'm really excited about it.
How was the experience in Money in the Bank? Speaking of that, I mean, it was cool that you got to be in it. You were a perfect fit for it. You had a breakout showing, but also at the same time, it's a ladder match. I mean, that's going to destroy your body. But I mean, that's what you got to do in order to win the briefcase. And obviously came short, but a strong showing nonetheless. What was your experience like in the matchup?
It was crazy. It all happened really, really quickly. It was my first time in Canada. It was all huge. I think I had a better experience than Chelsea Green. I think she came out a bit probably the worst worst for wear of all of us.
Yeah.
Um, Came up short, but like what an incredible experience to be in that match, especially around the 10-year mark of my, anniversary in wrestling. It was just amazing.
Yeah, and just talking about those opportunities that you've had, participating in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, going as far as the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament, now participating in the WWE Speed tournament for the women, kicking off next Wednesday. How have you found your main roster run? I know you've talked about it before, but how have you found your main roster run going for you so far and getting all these opportunities and making the most of every single one of them?
Yeah, there was no room for hesitation, no room to second guess myself. The Queen of the Ring tournament started as soon as I was drafted to Monday Night Raw. So it was just out of the frying pan into the fire straight away. I had no choice but to catch the ball and run with it. And I really feel like I did. And, now I feel very at home on Monday Night Raw. But everything I handled in that first month and, making it all the way to the finals of the Queen of the Ring, I feel like I can handle anything now.
Were you as surprised as the rest of us when your name was called in the WWE draft this past April? Not that you weren't ready, obviously, because you've already quickly adapted to being on the main roster, but I think a lot of people had their thoughts or, sights set on Roxanne. She's the NXT Women's Champion. She's been in NXT proper for a little bit longer, although you've been with the company for a lot longer than she has. But your name gets called, obviously a worthy participant or a rather, member on the Raw roster. But your reaction was that you were surprised, and it was a really cool, genuine reaction. So were you as surprised as the rest of us, or what was like kind of the thought process going into draft day this past spring?
I was so surprised, like completely, utterly surprised. I don't know why. Like, of course, you think, what if it's me? But until my name was called, I didn't realize how much I actually didn't think that that would happen so as quickly as it did. So
Yeah.
seeing my name and Monday Night Raw, Sean came out with the Raw hat and the Raw T-shirt. That was like it didn't feel real. I almost if you've seen the footage, I take so long to stand up
Yeah.
because it didn't resonate with me,
Hmm.
you know.
It was
That was a
cool.
really, really
Yeah.
beautiful moment that I'll
Just an
always
awesome moment
remember.
for sure, especially for fans that have followed your career dating back to not just NXT but like NXT UK right before COVID too. Like you've been with the company for quite a while. I think people don't really realize that. And then now arriving on Raw when at one point it didn't seem like that might be a possibility with the NXT UK stuff kind of being its own thing there for a little while. But you had just lost the NXT Women's Championship and obviously had just unsuccessfully regained it at that NXT Live or the Spring Breaking show shortly thereafter. So I think it kind of came out of
Mhm.
nowhere for a lot of people. But again, you were immediately hit the ground running on Raw. And has there been any one key piece of advice that you've gotten so far on the main roster, whether it be from like Shawn Michaels, someone that you mentioned that was your boss in NXT, Triple H now running things in the main roster, any of the talent that's really kind of helped you, so far in your time on Raw?
Um, I think like it's been really important to just trust what I bring to the table.
Hmm.
So that's been the biggest thing for me. Um, just trusting and being confident in myself. So
Has that long been your mindset over the course of your career and your time at WWE as well?
yeah, it's a crazy world and it's a crazy job. If you can, I don't feel like I work, but it's 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 just like you're always going to have moments of doubt and that kind of thing. But when you really believe, I do think it's the little things you do every day when you bet on yourself that end up with you coming out on top. That's worked for me anyway so
Hey,
far.
listen, you're former NXT Women's Champion. You beat Becky Lynch for the title. All the other success that you've had so far in WWE and just in your career in general, obviously, it's paid off pretty well. I think safe to say, which has been cool to see. But speaking of the Becky Lynch win, a little over just less than a year ago now. It's crazy to think it's been that long since it happened back at Halloween Havoc. But you guys having some interaction on the Raw brand when you first get called up to the main roster. Obviously, she takes off her contract expires. She's currently a free agent. Have you talked with Becky at all in her time away from WWE? And are you looking forward to her hopefully being back at some point so you guys can pick up where you left off, maybe in the women's tag team division, perhaps?
So I would love to be able to give you an insight into the mind of Becky Lynch, but if there's one thing about her is if she doesn't want anyone to know her next move, she'll keep everyone guessing.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
guarantee you that no one will know until she wants people to know what she's going to do next.
Well, time will tell. Well, listen, as we wind down here, talking about the WWE Speed Women's Championship, and you partook in the women's ladder match and the Queen of the Ring tournament, like we were talking about. I know you've mentioned this before in the last week or so, but a women's mid card championship. This kind of feels like a step in that direction. It's been a slow process for a while. We had the tag team titles. I just mentioned that you can find a partner, and you've been teaming pretty well with Katana Chance and Kaden Carter so far on Raw. Do you feel like this is a step, that being the WWE Speed Championship, towards a mid-card women's belt at some point, either on the Raw or SmackDown brand or both?
Yeah, I think the introduction of the women's speed title match is currently, the thing we're all looking at, the thing, the women on the roster are seeing as the next big opportunity. But of course, that would be very cool as well.
We're looking forward to it. Hopefully, you can get past the first round against IYO SKY, like you said earlier, kicking off September 4th on X. 3-minute matches started with men earlier this year, and looking forward to the women's matches as well. But Lyra, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. Congrats on all the success so far on the Raw brand.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.